Morning peeps, good morning everyone, how's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Quite a lot has happened since we last filmed, some good, and as always with boxing, some bad. A lot of bad actually. We'll try and discuss everything in the next 20 or 30 minutes. Let's start with some bad first, and obviously the biggest bad in the last couple of weeks has been this Ryan Garcia situation. Ryan Garcia testing positive for Ostarine, the same drug that Amir Khan tested positive for after his fight against Kell Brook. You know, when I heard this news, obviously I heard it whilst I was in Vegas. I remember hearing it and my first thought was just disappointment. That was it, just disappointment. A bit of surprise. I know some were like, I've seen a few sort of boxers and I've been watching a few YouTube channels and everyone was like they weren't surprised. He looks a lot thicker and all that kind of stuff. I just can't read that. For me, I just don't go on someone's physique when it comes to testing positive for a PED. PEDs do a lot more than give you muscles. But yeah, ultimately, just disappointed. Honestly, just disappointed. I thought it was a fantastic result for Ryan Garcia. Obviously, all the stuff in the build-up, he sold it well. Whether or not people believe it was a sell or not, or he's a bit crazy, probably is. But he sold it well. And I thought it was a really good redemption arc. Like, oh my God, Ryan Garcia is now back. It was a massive win. Devin Haney was coming into that fight of some really good performances. Obviously, the Regis Prograis, the standout one. So it was a really big win. And then you get that news and you're like, just disappointed. The New York State Athletic Commission don't muck about. So look, if he can't prove his innocence, and obviously he's declaring, as everyone does, they're innocent, I think, I don't know, first time offense. I was going to say they will come down hard on him, but in boxing, what does that mean? 6 months, 12 months? If it is 6 months, that's nothing. If it's 12 months, it's a little bit better because I do think he would have had a fight within the 12 months. So that means he doesn't fight, which means he doesn't make a lot of money, which for Ryan Garcia could be anything between 5 and 20 million, depending on who he fights. The ramifications of or the penalties of someone failing a drugs test just has to be bigger. Like, I would go as far as to say you strip them of their purse. Like, whatever money they've made for that fight, because that's the only way, especially those top fighters, the fighters that make a lot of money, it's the only way it's going to hurt them is if you say, you know what, whatever you made, 15 million, you ain't getting paid. You ain't getting paid. I don't know where that money goes to. This is not that conversation, but something needs to happen. So yeah, that was the first bad. The second bad was that Beterbiev had pulled out of his fight against Dimitri Bivol, which I still think was wrongly being overshadowed by this 5 versus 5. Like, the 5 versus 5 was an extra addition. And look, it's exciting. There's some really good fights on there. But for me, the big thing June 1st was Bivol, Beterbiev, Beterbiev, Bivol. That was for me the thing. That was what I was interested in. Am I interested in Zhang Wilder and Amma Williams, Hamza Shiraz? Yeah, absolutely. But my thing was, oh my God, we're going to see number 1 versus number 2, unbeaten versus unbeaten, pound for pound versus pound for pound, best light heavyweight of this generation. And then you make the debate about where they sit in the pantheon of great light heavyweights. That now doesn't happen. Bivol will stay on the card, but it loses a lot for me. It loses a lot. And at the age of, what is Beterbiev, 40, and he always picks up injury. Remember, he picked up an injury prior to fighting Callum Smith, hence why that fight was delayed. There's always an injury with Beterbiev. And when you watch his training, you can kind of see why. I mean, he puts his body through it. That's just how they train. It's how he trains. Some people don't like doing that type of training because things like this happen. But then when it goes well for you, you can kind of see what a wrecking machine he is. So, yeah, that was another bad. Obviously, you guys know, as I said at the top, that I was in Las Vegas for Canelo Munguia. I might do a separate video about it. Maybe it's past, so maybe we'll talk about it now. It was an interesting fight week. Obviously made interesting because of Oscar De La Hoya. Thank God he did something at the press conference, because, you know, Munguia is not going to do anything. Canelo's not going to really do anything. So it needed someone to spark it. And Oscar did. And I guess what that did is really pissed off Canelo, to whereby I think he put in one of the best performances I've seen from him in years. I'm trying to think of Canelo's recent fights. I think Caleb Plant was good. Callum Smith was okay, but Callum was very negative in that fight on the back foot. Obviously, we know what he did against Billy Joe Saunders. Golovkin 3, no. Bivol, no. John Ryder, no. So it was actually Jermell Charlo didn't want to do anything. So Canelo was almost forced to do something because Munguia was very on the front foot. And I think we saw a really good Canelo wound the clock back a little bit. Showed that he still is top dog, 168 pounds. I know people will chuck the Benavidez thing at me, at him, at whoever likes Canelo. But when you look at the resume at 168 pounds, Canelo is still the top dog. There are young kids coming. It isn't just Benavidez. It's David Morrell. It's Mbili. There are young kids coming, unbeaten kids, strong, big at the weight. Like seeing Benavidez and David Morrell close up, these guys are enormous. They're light heavies, basically. Canelo's like a middleweight. They're light heavyweights. They'll come into the ring 200 pounds. 200? Potentially, you know. They could easily put on about 25 pounds. These guys are enormous. So that's what Canelo's got in front of him. Whether or not he takes those fights, I don't know. On the broadcast, I did say that, obviously, look, there's talk about Edgar Berlanga next. Berlanga doesn't deserve the fight. I want to see Crawford. I know people think that's crazy, but if Crawford gets past Madrimov, which we're expecting him to do, we saw Jermell Charlo do that double jump. I think Crawford will do the double jump as well. I almost feel like Crawford is just trying to test the water at a new weight class just to see how it feels. And I like the fact he's taken on Madrimov. He's quite stocky, quite strong, a big 154-pounder. So, look, we'll see how it plays out. But that's the super fight for me. And that's the fight that really pushes the needle. Like, really pushes it. Benavidez does, don't get me wrong, because the crowd are behind that. But Crawford versus Canelo is almost a case of this is for the right to be called the fighter of this generation. The best fighter of the last 15 years, I think. A couple other names sprinkled in there, but that's what I think it is. More good, and there's a lot of good actually, but more good is Inoue. Inoue fighting in front of 55,000. And you know when you hear a lot of American fight fans, and it is only American, because I haven't heard any UK fight fans say this, oh, he needs to go to America and fight to prove himself. Why? This is a guy that is at worst pound for pound number 2, making millions, fighting in front of his home crowd of 55,000. It would be one thing if he was only getting 5,000 and he wasn't making the money, but this guy is fighting in front of thousands of people, millions on TV, and making millions, and is winning, and is unbeaten, and is a pound for pounder, and is a multi-weight world champion. Why does he need to go to America? Now, look, if there was a standout name for him to go to America and fight, I can kind of understand the argument. But right now, within his weight class, there isn't, right? I mean, the name we keep hearing is Gervonta Davis. I mean, let's be realistic about this. Inoue is a super bantamweight and Gervonta Davis is a lightweight. There's quite a few weight classes between the two. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying that we shouldn't dream about maybe them meeting at a catchweight, but I doubt it very much. Maybe a jump to feather for Inoue, and I think that's it. This want to see people continually jump weight classes maybe needs to stop. There are weight classes for a reason. And maybe, I think we saw that NERY's punch power was causing a bit of problem. Maybe he might have maxed out. Maybe. I wouldn't put anything past Inoue. He's clearly that talented and that good, where maybe another jump might not be a problem. But at 31, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't want his legacy to be around having to chase one of these American superstars and go outside your weight class. Loma has done that. And it hasn't proved the best for Loma. Like I've always said that Loma, when it's all said and done and we look back at Loma, I obviously, and you guys have witnessed Loma fight, but for those that didn't witness, his resume is going to be like, oh, well, he lost to Haney, lost to Teofimo Loma. This guy's fighting out of his weight class. Every time I see Loma, and I've been fortunate to see him up close and personal, he is a 126 guy, max 130. He's fighting these guys that are just like, I don't know how much he must be giving away in the ring. And for as skillful as he is, once you give away that much weight class, it can be a bridge too far. And I think that might be the issue with Inoue. As good as Inoue is, and it looks like he's carrying his punch power up to the weight class, once you continually go up, those guys can take your shots and they can hurt you. So I don't necessarily see or want to see Inoue go up another couple of weight classes. The debate has started online about who is pound for pound number 1. Is it Inoue? Is it Crawford? I will say this off the bat. These guys are number 1 and 2. I was going to make an argument for the winner of Bivol Beterbiev to maybe jump, especially if Beterbiev won, because his resume is frightening. But these guys are multi-weight world champions, undisputed in weight classes, undisputed in 2 weight classes, I believe both of them are, unbeaten. It's so difficult to pick. I would only edge to Inoue slightly about being pound for pound number 1 just because of activity. Let's not forget, when Errol Spence fought Terence Crawford, Inoue fought Fulton on the same week, I believe. Stand to be corrected, but I think that is correct. Inoue's fought twice since then and has got 2 stoppages. Crawford hasn't. Crawford will fight Majimov. So just on what have you done for me lately, I think you kind of have to give it to Inoue. I think you have to give it to Inoue. Crawford may well take that mantle, that prize, that throne once he beats Majimov, and then he's a champion in another weight class. But for now, I think Inoue should be pound for pound number 1. He should be. But look, credit to NERY as well, by the way, to go over and nearly cause the upset, man. I mean, the problem with what he did, it was almost like in football where you score a goal early. It's like, maybe a bit too early. Like, maybe. Like, going down the straight when, championship round, you get one of those knockdowns. Okay, the guy's shattered. It's hard to come back from. Like, Inoue bounced up like, I'm going to get you, motherfucker. I'm going to get you. Maybe it's a bit too early, but credit to both. Credit to the fans. It's sensational. Honestly, it really was. And it's good to see big fights happening all over the world. All right, what do we have next? Any good or bad? All right, it's bad. Carlos Adames elevated to full champion after Jamal Charlo is stripped of WBC middleweight title. Yeah, I saw this story. Jamal Charlo was arrested, wasn't he? DUI, which is driving under the influence, which isn't great, is it? I mean, I get it. A lot of these fighters have a little drink now and again, and I get it, but you don't want to see it. You don't, especially when Jamal Charlo, according to many, was in the run-in to fight Canelo in September. It probably will be Belanga, but Jamal Charlo's name was mentioned. Remember, it was supposed to be Jamal the first time around. Jamel stepped in. So it is disappointing to see what's happening with both Charlo brothers, if I'm honest with you. Again, 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't think they were the future of the sport, but I thought they would have done a bit more damage. And some might say they have, right? I know Jamel's been undisputed. Look, they've had good careers, but I thought they were going to have special careers, and it hasn't quite happened. But it is about time that Jamal Charlo's been stripped. I mean, Mauricio Sulaimán and the WBC gave him way too much leeway, way too much. So yeah, Mario Barrios has eyes on the best at welterweight landscape. Wait, let me read that correctly. Mario Barrios has eyes on the best as welterweight landscape changes. There you go. Yeah, so many changes, like so many. Obviously, with Crawford going up and Spence going up, all those belts are now going to become vacated. Barrios is the interim WBC welterweight champion. He will be elevated after that fight against Maidana. I didn't think he looked that great against Maidana. Stanionis, I believe, is the WBA champion. So again, it's another name. He didn't look that great either, if I'm honest with you. And obviously there is the main man, Jaron Ennis. So if you're Eddie, you're trying to get unifications with Barrios, Stanionis, and I'm not quite sure who the WBO champion or who will be elevated to WBO champion, but that's what you're trying to do. But look, I like Barrios. He, fan-friendly, has got a crowd behind him. Didn't look great, but not everyone can always look great, can they? Proud Aussie Jaya Pattaya believes Kambosos can pull it off in vacant title fight with Lomachenko. That is this weekend. No, not for me. I still think there's something left in Loma, and that Devin Haney performance showed me that there's something left. Obviously, look, he's been out a while. Again, a bit like the argument with Inoue Crawford. Devin Haney's fought twice since then. Regis Prograis and Ryan Garcia. This will be Lomachenko's first fight back. As you get older, it just takes a lot longer for the body to heal. But Lomachenko knows that his career is almost done. If he loses, it's probably over. But I think he will win. And then maybe it sets up a Shakur Stevenson fight, who's got one more deal left on his top rank contract. So look, we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I almost don't want to see him take on Shakur, because I think Shakur's a bit of a problem for him. But the only blessing in disguise is that Shakur can't really punch. You know what I mean? I don't want to see him with a puncher. Look, ultimately, what you'd love to see is him I'm gonna contradict myself here now. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Gervonta, because that's the super fight, right? That's the one in that division. And it's the one that we wanted years ago. And, you know, there is this thing about Gervonta following the Floyd blueprint of let them get old, let them get old. Loma's old now, so let's see if Gervonta will take him after Gervonta fights Frank Martin. What do we have? Anything else? Mandatory challenger Sam Goodman says he's seen enough to dethrone Inoue. Don't know what you saw, bro. I'm not quite sure what you saw, because I saw a guy there. This is the thing now. Like, that one knockdown, and people are trying to, I don't know, rewrite Inoue's history. Inoue, frightening. Inoue's absolutely frightening. I fly out on Sunday for Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk. Really looking forward to getting out there. I think I sit down with Fury on Monday, and then it's just fight week. Please wrap these motherfuckers in cotton wool. We don't need any issues anymore. Let them just get there, please, because it's really frustrating. It really is. And this is the fight, right? I mean, as much as I just mentioned Inoue, Crawford 1 and 2, number 3 is Alexander Usyk. If Alexander Usyk can become undisputed at heavyweight, again, let the debate begin about where he jumps, because he has to jump. Undisputed at heavyweight, you have to jump. All right, I think that is it. I might do. In fact, I definitely will do a Loma Kambosos preview. I'm thinking of getting Darren Barker here to do some bits of Darren Barker, and then we'll do loads of different videos. All right, boys and girls, peace and love.